So one thing we're kind of missing is those iconic eyeballs. Let's go ahead and add those in. Since this doesn't have any subdivision history, we can very simply go to BI brush insert and primitives, and you just go through here and insert like a polysphere. Polysphere 3D should probably be fine, or 32, I'm sorry. And just go ahead and insert those eyeballs, and then do a geometry subtool, tool, subtool, split mask points. And right now he looks kind of goofy because he's kind of looking towards the middle here. And by I mean looking, I just mean I'm treating those polarized caps as irises. So we can go through here and we can kind of adjust these eyeballs so he's kind of looking straight ahead. So now we can kind of make this look a little bit more Terminator-y and maybe make some informed modeling decisions based on how his eyeballs are going to look embedded here. So one thing we can do is you can use ZModeler to go ahead and add some complexity to this object. So I'm going to go to Alt-Q, which is my hotkey for BZM, which is our ZModeler brush. And the basic ZModeler you can find on my YouTube channel, or even on the ArtStation series, or again that intro series, Intro to ZBrush for ideation. But really quickly, I'm going to go through here. I'm going to hold down Control-Shift, and one way you can select ring is hold down Control-Shift to lasso. So I'll just switch this to lasso selection, and then you can just Control-Shift tap here, and let's do a quick auto groups, and then we'll do a quick geometry modify topology mirror and weld. And now we've got these polygroups. It's going to allow us to kind of model a little bit. So let's hold down Control-Shift, and we tap between these two verts. It's going to select both those polygroups and hit Control-W. And let's make that a little more obvious. There we go. So now we have this piece kind of sitting in here. And you know what? We may actually use this later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Control-Shift, isolate this orange part, and then do a subtool split hidden. And now with this casing here, we can go through here and we can do a QMesh polygroup all, hovering over a face, hold down spacebar, QMesh polygroup all, and just kind of pull in a little bit. It's going to look a little bit weird. It's going to look inverted. Make sure you go down here to display properties and hit flip. It's going to flip your vertex normals, and now we're going to have just an eyeball shell. Now, if you don't want a bunch of interior faces taking up space that you're never going to see, you can hold down Control-Shift, isolate that interior part, Control-Shift drag to invert that, Geometry Modify Topology delete hidden, hover over a face with your ZModeler brush, go to Close Convex Hole, and then just go ahead and just close that off. Let's hit Control-W, or Control-Shift, tap this, hit Control-W, and now you've got that flattened out. Now, if you want to do a little bit of sub-D modeling, what you can do is you can go up here to Geometry, and we're going to go down here to, let's go ahead and close some of these menus. Let's go here to Dynamic and then open up Crease. So we're going to hit Crease PG, which is going to put a crease on every single polygroup here. And now we can go up here to Dynamic, and that's going to give us a preview of what it would look like if we hit Control-D twice. Now the reason I like to do a preview as opposed to actually hitting Subdivide twice is this makes it a lot easier for us to work non-destructively. It also allows us, we can actually preview this as well. We can go up here to crease level, and so if I do a crease level of 3 and a smooth subdiv of 4, essentially what that's doing is going, I'm going to subdivide this up 3 times, hit uncrease all, so I uncrease all my edges, and then subdivide one more time. In fact, if we take this crease level down to 2, that's telling it subdivide twice, uncrease everything, and then subdivide 2 more times. Again, we go into the basics of this and the basics of ZBrush. That's essentially what we're getting. So you can get some very nice bevels doing that. Now this outer piece here, we can alt tap this here, and if we don't like the polarized cap, we can just do a quick ZRemesh, maybe half, adapt the size down to 0. That'll give us some slightly new geometry. That's not great. I mean, I guess I can live with that for now. But I do want to give this some thickness. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go back to my ZModeler brush BZM, QMesh polygroup all, just pull this back through, and then again, display properties, flip. Then we'll do another crease PG, turn on dynamic. Let's do crease level of 2, smooth subdiv of 3. And now we've got this piece kind of sitting in there. So we can hit W, and we can just kind of move this back in a little bit. You can even hit go to Unmesh Mesh Center, and you can scale it down if you want to. Let's go ahead and turn on LSim. And that can kind of be that glass eye sitting inside of there. Now, if you want to add more detail to this, you can go back here. Let's hit Shift-D to turn off our dynamic subdivisions, or to toggle it off, I should say. So if you hit D, that toggles on dynamic subdivisions. If you hit Shift-D, it turns it off. So you can kind of get a preview of what it's going to look like. So if you wanted to say right along here, use your ZModeler brush BZM, go in here and say bevel, edge loop complete. You can add a little bevel in here, and then you could even go through here and you could do QMesh polygroup all and pull that in, or you can pull it out if you want to, or you can do like an inset polygroup all region, and you can inset all of these here, and then you could do a QMesh polygroup all. Now if you QMesh this in, it's going to give you a control loop. However, if you hold down Shift when you do this, it's just going to pull those along the surface normal. So again, you could do another crease PG to crease those polygroups. Then you hit dynamic, it's nice and crispy. Or if you don't want to do that, if you undo that, And again, we'll just kind of push those along the surface node while holding down Shift. If you just hit D without creasing, it's going to give us a lot softer fall off here. So you can kind of play around with that and get that result that you're looking for. But anyway, with those eyes placed, now you have a little bit of a better idea of how we might model some detail around that eyeball. If we want to put every piece of those eyeballs and maybe move everything back a little bit, what we can do is we can turn on Move Multiple Objects, hold down Control Shift and tap to hash everything, and then Control Shift tap the eyeball portions, and then just kind of move all of these back. And in this case, you probably need to move it in just a little bit here. And then of course hit W and then turn off Move Multiple if you don't want to move everything at once. Now one thing I'm kind of seeing on the Terminator head or Terminator eyeball is that there seems to be kind of pieces on all four corners. So one thing we can do is we can duplicate this eyeball piece off here. So we'll go into solo mode. Oops. Let's turn off live boolean there. So we've got our eyeball here and we have our duplicated geometry. So if I want to steal or borrow some of this duplicated geometry, what I can do is let's hit Shift D to go out of that dynamic mode. Let's isolate this orange part here and we'll do a quick auto groups. And then we'll do a quick geometry modify topology delete hidden, do a quick mirror and weld, isolate just the blue part, do another delete hidden, and now I'm going to use some of this geometry to kind of add some pieces on the four corners here. So I'm going to hold down Alt and we're going to just paint backwards a little bit. In fact, what we might be able to do is, let's do this. Let's tap X to go out of X symmetry, hold down Control Shift and Alt and get rid of that other piece, delete hidden. And now we're going to hit X to go across X symmetry, and make sure you have LSim turned on because it's going to take the local symmetry of this individual object. And then underneath transform here, let's turn on symmetry in the X and Y direction. So when we hold down Alt and we paint, we can get, well, let's do this real quick. Let's do a quick mirror and weld in the X and Y. It looks like it was off just a tiny, tiny bit. You know what, that's fine. I'm not going to worry about that. Because I'm just going to grab these four pieces and I'm trying to save a little bit of time here. So I'm going to Alt drag over here, just tag these, Control Shift tap the blue, Control Shift drag to invert that, delete hidden. And now I've got these pieces of geometry on all four corners of the eye. So now I can go through here and I can do a QMesh polygroup all and pull these out. And you know what? If we hit D right now, it's going to really soften those out. So let's go down here and underneath Crease this time, let's go to Crease Tolerance, drag that Crease Tolerance down like maybe 47. And then hit Crease, and then hold down, go to ZModeler brush over the edge, and then hold down spacebar, and let's do Crease, Edge, and hold down Alt. That'll uncrease those edges, so we can kind of soften those edges out. And this time, let's go to Crease level of 2, Smooth Subdiv of 3, and that'll kind of give us that kind of piece here. And then on either side of that, let's hit Shift D to turn that off temporarily. Let's Alt paint these ones here, and we're going to Alt paint these ones here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to pull this out. Instead of QMeshing, like face QMesh polygroup all, we're going to start QMeshing and then hold down Control to pull out separate geometry. And then we're going to keep pulling, although that is going to cause a problem. So QMesh those out, tap Alt, and then hold down Control. That's going to make those into their own polygroup, and then you can continue to QMesh out. It's going to give us separate geometry. So now if we hit D, that's the result we're going to get. So we do Shift D to turn that off temporarily. We're going to have these polygroups on the inside. Just hold down Shift. And in fact, let's hold down a space bar and go QMesh, polygroup island, and then hold down Shift and pull those a little bit closer. Hold down Shift and pull those a little bit closer, and hit D. There we go, something like that. Now we want it to be the same on both sides. Now, however, we have LSim turned on, so if I do a quick mirror and weld across the X axis, it's just going to do it across the local symmetry. So what we want to do is turn off LSim, and then do a mirror and weld that'll mirror on the other side. And now when you have X symmetry turned on, it'll be across world symmetry. And it's just geometry, so even if you wanted to go through here and like do an inflate, like deformation inflate, you could do a quick inflate, and that'll give you that result. And in fact, let's hold down Alt and tap, and let's just push these in a little bit. And if we Alt tap this eyeball, let's do a QMesh polygroup island, hold down Shift, and just continue to push these back, give us a little bit more depth that we can add to our eyeball. Now on this eye here, if we Alt tap that one, if you wanted to add a little bevel along there, if that edge is a little bit too sharp, you can go through here and you can just say bevel, edge loop complete with that edge with ZModeler brush, and then do another crease polygroup. Let's do a crease level of 2, smooth subdiv of 3, and that'll give us a little bit of a softer result there.